government. GovLove is produced by ELGL, the Engaging Local Government Leaders Network. We engage the brightest minds in local government. I'm Dan Bolin, a local government attorney and partner at the Anthem Law Firm in Chicago. Today is a very special episode because we are live at the 2023 American Planning Association Illinois State Conference. For this episode, we're teaming up with Only Planners in the Building podcast, produced by the Illinois chapter of the American Planning Association. You may know the host. He is the Professional Development Officer for the APA Illinois chapter. He is also a senior planner at the Lakota Group, where he provides comprehensive planning and on-call city planning and development consulting services. Please welcome Andy Cross.
Why, thank you, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here today. As you mentioned, I host the chapter's Only Planners in the Building podcast, and it is a positive delight to be with you here today.
Oh, Andy, thank you for coming. And I mean, the real joy, though, is that APA Illinois just awarded the 2023 Historic Exploration Award to an exciting placemaking project, Adventures in Stockton. Today we have two special guests that worked on this award-winning project. They're from All Together, a design studio focused on placemaking, community branding, and engagement. The first is a writer and urban planner with over 18 years of experience in community outreach, planning, and branding. She's written articles and studies that have been featured in Next City, Bloomberg, the New York Times, and USA Today. She has also taught courses in sustainability, planning, and design at DePaul University. Please welcome Marisa Schulz. We also have a senior planner and designer who masterfully communicates the big picture by distilling complex issues into simple messaging and clean visuals. Her experience in graphic design, urban planning, and community engagement drives her passion to better inform policy and create authentic, viable places and solutions. As a painter and muralist, she loves creatively capturing the energy of a place and its community through placemaking. Please welcome Abigail Rose. Abby, welcome to GovLove. How are you?
We are so happy to be here.
It's an honor.
Oh, good, very good. We are also joined here today by our audience at the APA Illinois State Conference. Please think of questions for the guests and compliments for the host, and we will let you share them with us later on. But first, let's get started with our signature lightning round. Dear guests, please tell us about your career path, starting from the day you were born through the day you first visited Stockton, Illinois. We'll start with whoever's microphone is working at the current moment.
Test.
Okay. We'll start with Marisa.
All right, thanks, Dan. It was, I started on a wintry April morning in Detroit. I grew up in Michigan, and my dad was and is a drummer. So we had a very creative house. And, for all that time that I thought was a skunk problem, now feels like, now I know, was something very different. But we had music, right? And they encouraged writing and expression of our thoughts and our creativity through writing. And so I went to Michigan and studied kind of English and on the journalism path. And then I went to work in Detroit in the early to mid-aughts for a redevelopment firm, starting with working on their marketing and helping them with some of their community engagement. And I found that I loved the engagement and the storytelling piece of urban planning. And at that time, not many people who I knew were in planning. I ended up going to the University of Texas at Austin and studying community and regional planning there. and was always drawn to kind of the design aspect of it, and found myself balancing this idea of how do we merge the two of kind of marketing, right, and writing with planning and identity building and placemaking. So worked for the city of Austin, for various firms, and now Andy's firm, and with Andy while I was at DePaul, and finally came to really wanting to focus on this niche of helping communities and municipalities tell their stories through branding and placemaking. And that's where we're at today.
A very interesting life story. Maybe only a few things you might have left out. What was the first concert you attended? It's such a passion for music in your youth.
Yes, it was Paula Abdul and Salt and Peppa opened.
Wow.
So there was some covering of ears, and yes, it was very influential.
And where was
Movement
this?
and dance.
Where was this life-changing event?
At Pine Knob, which is in the suburbs of Detroit.
Very nice.
Yes.
Oh, and this influences your work today.
Very much so, through dance and creative movement.
Oh, very good. Abby, where were you born?
I was born downtown Chicago. Go Cubs, fly the W. But I was raised in Des Moines, Iowa. So I love corn. Corn-fed, hearty. I don't talk any bad things about corn. I will get very upset. It does a lot for livestock and other things. And it's good.
Stockton, home of the namesake of Stockton livestock.
Mm-hmm.
In fact.
Absolutely. People are very proud of that. Mm-hmm. Stock area.
That's a tease for later. Continue.
Very nice. Well, I grew up drawing, painting my whole life. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I went to graphic design school, and I was like, this is not for me. I did some internships, learned what it would be like, and I started to take community design build classes at Iowa State University in Ames. And I was like, this is magical. I got a scalping license. I was doing murals. I was working with the Ames planners there, and I was like, this is the best thing. So I started talking to some of the staff, professors there, and I decided to go back for my master's in community regional planning and urban design. They do them separate at Iowa State, which I found to be not a common thing in law schools. So yes, I did both of them within 2 years. Don't do that. But it was very rewarding. And then from there, I moved down south. And I was a planner too at a growing suburb in the northeast of Austin, Pflugerville, for those of you that might know it. It has an ETJ for days. So that was super exciting. It was a sink or swim situation. So I got to field community comments. I did most of the site reviews. So anywhere from like purulence, plots, everything, sometimes they don't teach you that in school. So it was great. It was immersive, all the hearings. They were my family, and we missed the Midwest. We moved back, and then I also worked where Andy is now, and I had the opportunity, probably highlight of my career, I worked with Andy on some projects when he was at Highland Park. And then after that, I joined Altogether Studio with two of my best friends, and it's been lovely, and a women-owned business. It's pretty sick. Yeah.
That is sick, as it is some preparations of corn. Please rank, like maybe creamed corn I'm thinking of. Please rank your favorite preparations of corn.
Oh, just a lot of butter. A lot of butter is good. I mean, I had it grilled, creamed in the cornbread, like chunks.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had a lot. Anything with butter.
I'm probably not having enough butter with my cream corn is the issue for me personally. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you
for that
this
question.
advice. It is the end of our lightning round. Let's take a look at the scoreboard. Everyone has a perfect score. Congratulations. Which means we can move on with our interview. Gang, why don't we start with just an introduction of what is placemaking and how do you feel it can help communities? Marisa?
Yeah, definitely. So placemaking, I will say, is definitely a buzzword right now. Andy and Dan would love to hear your thoughts and the audience. So raise your hand if you heard the term placemaking 20 years ago. For those of you, who were alive then, like some young people in this audience.
And not in junior high school.
Any placemaking. Okay, what about in the last 5 years? Raise your hand, right? Everywhere. And it's what a lot of us have been doing for a very long time with urban design and planning. And essentially, it's really all about celebrating what makes a place authentic and its own location. What is true to that place, and then how can we honor it and bring it to the forefront through really what we focus on is art and storytelling. I think, other firms really focus on placemaking in terms of urban design and the infrastructure. But for us, it's telling the story of that place and differentiating it. So when you visit somewhere, you can embody that spirit of place. You know where you're at and why you're there. And it looks very different from project to project. It could be very temporary to much more longer term.
Abby, your thoughts? You've got a lot of placemaking background in your work.
I mean, Marisa's going to take this one because this question is a little traumatizing for me. My dad asked it when I was defending my thesis, and he was the only one that had a question. So I was not the happiest with him, and this was, so many years ago. But, I just think it's become a lot of different things. As Marisa said, a lot of different scales, sizes. I think it's, when it really matters most is it's contextually appropriate. It excites people, gets people to gather. It's sharing stories that need to be passed down from generation to generation, or it's really helping a place be exciting or gather new people, because there are some placemaking initiatives that are totally new and fresh from a blank slate, so I think it's just a very flexible thing, but doing it right and making it meaningful for people is really where it's at.
And I think one other thing that I'll add to that is, for us, it makes what we do more tangible, right, and easily accessible. Which we'll talk about, working in Stockton, they have a streetscape project that is in the works, but is 2 to 3 years off. And so while for us, that's short term, it's coming, the funding's been allocated, it's gonna happen. But for the business owners and the residents, 2 to 3 years, especially coming off of COVID, is a very, very long time. And so that was a big piece of our work, and I think the work that we do every day is how do you bridge some of those longer term initiatives which are so important with the short-term reality of experiencing a place and starting to tell the stories through more tactical interventions.
So maybe just as more some additional intro, placemaking, part of your work at All Together. Tell us about All Together. I know it's a women-owned firm, and how they tell us about the studio and how it implements placemaking in your work.
Yeah, so we are headed into our 4th year. Yeah, thank you. We have a launch date of March 2020.
Oh.
Yeah, so all of that, which actually ended up being, I think, the foundation of our company. We, my business partner, Rachel, who could not be here today, was sick, but wanted to be, is just